back on the record after a short break, and we still have Mr. Soneberg, and we're going to begin the cross-examination. Go ahead, Mr. Cross.
Great. Mr. Soneberg, when did you begin working for the Internal Affairs?
I started in 2000, early 2000 or late 2019. It was like right around then. It was either late 19 or early 20. I don't remember the exact date.
So a few months before the escape?
Correct.
Was this one of your first investigations?
It was probably early. It was probably like maybe a dozen in for internal affairs, but I did investigations previously with the state through my other positions.
What was your position before you were an investigator for Internal Affairs?
I was a captain at the Racine Youthful Correctional Facility.
Okay. Is that a maximum security facility?
It is not.
How about a minimum?
It is not.
Have you ever been a security director at a maximum or minimum security facility?
I have not.
How about a deputy warden?
I have not.
How about a warden?
I have not.
Okay. Before this time, how many wardens had you investigated?
I believe none.
Okay. And how about deputy wardens?
I also believe none.
Okay, security directors?
Also none.
Okay. And you know who Christy Preston is, right?
I do.
Who is she?
She is my supervisor. She's the director of internal affairs.
Okay. Now, how did you first come to learn of Novak?
My first interactions with Novak would have been through this investigation.
Okay. And how did you first become aware of this investigation?
I was informed by my supervisor, Christy Preston, that we were being assigned to investigate the escape.
Okay. Then what happened?
Then we were sent, or we actually went to Columbia. We were there for approximately about 2 weeks. We were there eight hours a day, collecting evidence and conducting interviews, and conducting investigations on other staff.
Okay. Between the time she told you you were starting this investigation and when you went to Columbia, did you do anything else to investigate these allegations?
I'm sorry, which allegations are you referring to?
Great. So how do you know who to investigate when you're doing an investigation?
When we're assigned an investigation, the subject of the investigation is on the 15807. Internal Affairs doesn't initiate investigations. So as an investigator, when I am assigned an investigation, that is how I know who to investigate.
Great. Who's the first 15807 you got with regard to this escape?
I don't recall.
Okay. Was it a frontline employee?
That sounds accurate, but I don't recall exactly. But yes, that sounds correct.
Okay. When you went to Columbia and were working there for 2 weeks, 8 hours a day, were you investigating Novak at that time?
Not at that time.
Okay. What information other than the 15807 did you get from let's say, Christy Preston with regard to this investigation?
So I don't recall exactly. I would have to really look at the information on the evidence log as to what came in prior. There was information that came in prior, but being so long ago, I don't recall exactly what that was.
Okay. Did you get any verbal instructions from her?
I'm sure there was some sort of verbal instruction regarding something, but I don't recall any specific conversations.
Okay, why would you be sure that there would be these instructions?
There would have been some sort of conversation like, hey, you're getting this investigation, or I am assigning you this investigation. There would have been, at minimum, there would have been that conversation.
Okay. So, do you recall any specific conversations you had with Christy Preston regarding investigation to Novak?
I do not recall any specific conversations, no.
Okay, how about regarding the escape?
Not anything specific. Again, there were conversations regarding the escape, with various staff, but not anything specific.
Okay, various staff in internal affairs?
Yes.
Okay, who were those various staff?
Would have been myself, would have been my partner, Matthew Paulson, and it would have been the other two investigators, Kelly Steiner and Joseph Runke.
Okay, why were you having these discussions?
So there was kind of two parts, or kind of two avenues, I guess. Kelly Steiner and Joseph Runke were investigating the kitchen kind of portion of it and like what was going on in the kitchen. Myself and Matthew Paulson were investigating the building and ground staff, the fence issues, and that sort of thing.
Okay.
And some of that information, as you can imagine, like intertwined. So they were, sharing information regarding that sort of thing.
Okay. So about how far were you into the investigation, into the escape, when you started to investigate Novak?
I believe it was approximately 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, and how did you receive the 15807 on Novak?
I imagine I would have been emailed. Like standard practice is we get emailed, like you're assigned this number, this investigation. The 15807 then would have been in our groups folder for me to access and read and then move on with the investigation.
Okay, was there anything, any special procedures that you did because Novak is a warden?
There wasn't anything different, no, that I was made aware of or told.
Okay. So then, you get from the allegation, alleged rule violations on the 15807, you draft a series of questions and people interview, right?
Correct.
Okay, because you're the primary?
Correct.
Okay. Did anybody assist you to draft those questions?
Possibly my secondary. He could have helped with some questions. The other investigators could have added or like maybe suggested questions or something, but I'm primarily responsible for all the questions. Like there might have been suggestions or something, but I'm the one that was conducting in the primary of it.
Okay. So, and I guess I'm not sure if I asked this straight out, so I'm going to ask it this way.
Sure.
The first time that you saw an allegation of a rule violation against Sue Novak was in the 15807 or something else?
So that the only time, I guess I'm having difficulty with that, with how you're wording it there. Like,
okay.
When I received the 15807, it had the information in the A, which is that first page that outlines what we're investigating. There weren't like with the work rules; those aren't put in until far after, or when the investigation is essentially complete.
Well, okay, but and my understanding is there's an initial form that's signed by the appointing authority.
Correct. Yep.
That says that there's some allegations that need to be investigated.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. So those investigations have to be based on some kind of work rule, right?
The work rules aren't identified. Yeah, so there would be some sort of allegation of misconduct that would be included in that first page. But the work rules are never identified. It's not like this is the behavior, these are the work rules we're looking at. It's like this is the behavior, please investigate this, because there's a potential for work rules.
Okay. But And I get that, and I think we're just to be clear though, they can't just the allegations against an employee can't be have to be based ultimately on a work rule. They can't come out of thin air or some other the imagination of the supervisor, right?
Yeah, they would be. Yeah, there would be based on a work rule. Yes, and there would be allegations that a work rule could have been violated or even was violated or whatever. Yes, they would be based off those work rules.
Great. Okay. So the big difference between the 15807 as it starts is that there is the potential that there is a work rule violation, and then the point of the investigation is to investigate whether that work rule violation happened, and then ultimately you summarize your conclusion as to whether or not a work rule a violation occurred. Isn't that right?
That is correct.
Okay. Great. So, and focusing on that definition, 15807, those allegations there, the unproved work rule violation, is that the first time that you heard of allegations of work rule violations against Sue Novak?
Yes. Well, so that's difficult. I don't really recall. I would imagine that as we were getting into the investigation, that information was coming forward that could have potentially been work rule violations against Sue Novak that I would have been made aware of. That we're gathering all this information, we're passing all this information forward through all these other investigations and information coming in.
Sure.
So I may have been made aware of potential things prior to that, but didn't start actually investigating into those until I received that 15807.
Okay. And what those things that you may have possibly been aware of, did you report that to anybody?
Yeah, so anything that I learned in the investigation, in any investigation, that may be potential work rule, like any potential misconduct or like violation of work rules, I report to my supervisor.
Sure. And did you identify any specific work rule violations against Sue Novak prior to receiving this 15807?
Any work like are you reverting back to like the potential misconduct thing, or what are you asking?
Sure. Any potential misconduct. Did you identify any potential misconduct against Sue Novak prior to receiving this 15807?
I can't recall specifically. You would be able to really identify that by looking at previous interviews that I had did, either with witnesses or other subjects, but I don't recall specifically.
Okay, and I appreciate that answer because I'd like to just distinguish that between finding coming across evidence in the course of your investigation, as opposed to you saying, "Hey, I think that Sue Novak committed this work rule violation," and sending that up to somebody. Did you ever say anything like that?
No, I would have just been sharing, like providing information and any, like if let's say for example I had an interview with somebody and information came through about, like I would pass that information up to my supervisor if it was pertinent to.
And that's Christy Preston.
Correct. Yep.
Did you pass information up to your supervisor about Sue Novak to Christy Preston?
I may have. I don't recall specifically.
Right here, you don't remember anything today?
I don't recall specific conversations that I have. If I received information regarding Sue Novak potentially having work rule violations or any potential misconduct from Sue Novak through the course of my previous investigations, I would have reported that to Chrissy Preston. Yes.
Okay, but precisely the work rule violations that were alleged against Sue Novak, right?
I do not.
Well, you got the 15807, didn't you?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So, do you recall telling to Christy Preston anything like that you saw in the 15807?
On that, you're saying like on that initial 15807?
You got it.
Yeah. So when we were investigating issues with the fence, issues with the post orders and things of that nature, all that information would have been passed to my boss, Chrissy Preston. Whether or not, I never made the determination that she was responsible for that. I was just passing that information forward.
I got it. Thanks for that clarification. Do you know a Mr. Fuchs at all?
Yes.
Who is that?
He is the current warden of Columbia.
Okay, and that's Sue Novak used to be the warden, right?
Correct.
Okay. So let's say during or immediately after this escape, do you know what Mr. Fuchs was doing?
I believe, if I recall correctly, he was security chief at the time, and he went to Columbia to assist with the response of some sort. I believe that's what it was.
How do you know that?
From memory of hearing, like, I don't know if I heard it from him or if I heard it from, I don't remember where I heard it from, but that's just what I recall him being there for.
Okay. And then you went to Columbia soon after the escape, right?
I went there that following Monday, I believe. Yes.
So, and Mr. Fuchs was there, right?
He was.
Okay. What did you have any discussions with Mr. Fuchs while you were there?
I did.
Okay. What was the nature of your discussions with Mr. Fuchs?
So we used Mr. Fuchs to obtain evidence. Like, he was kind of our go-between. And with me having DAI, or I'm sorry, institution experience, there was a lot of evidence that I knew that would be helpful to the investigation, that I requested from Mr. Fuchs. I also needed some access. I remember specifically I needed access to inmate emails, and Mr. Fuchs was able to give me access to that system.
Okay, and you said something earlier about you because of your DAI background or something like that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, institution background. Yep.
Well, okay. I mean, I understand that's the Division of Adult Institutions, right? But I don't understand how that would be helpful to the you asking for Mr. Fuchs for specific documents or something else. Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, sure. So, like, just having experience in the institution, knowing what kind of systems are out there, knowing that we have email systems that's tracked, we have phone systems that's tracked. One specific instance that came up was I knew that the control system, the control like radio monitoring system, was recorded.
Okay.
No one else really knew that, but I knew that from my experience, and I requested the recording from Mr. Fuchs, which he was able to provide.
Now I understand. So you told us you had never been a security director or a warden or deputy warden. So what's the highest rank that you'd held in an institution?
So my highest rank was officially a captain.
Okay.
Unofficial rank would have been an administrative captain, which is basically like a deputy security director.
Okay, and that was again at a minimum security, right?
Medium.
Medium. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So now you were saying no one else had this kind of experience as being a captain at a medium security institution, right? And just
no one else on our team, or yeah, I don't recall saying.
Well, that's what I was trying to get at. What did you mean by that?
Oh yeah, sure. So I was the only one at the time of the investigators who had that experience in the institution.
Okay, so let me just be clear if I understand it. The highest rank of knowledge of, or the highest experience level of investigators in internal affairs at this time who were investigating a warden at a maximum security in prison was a captain at a medium security prison. Is that right?
Captain in a medium security prison. Yeah, yes. The other people had this about the same rank, but from different like different divisions.
Okay, not a maximum security, for example.
No, it would have been like DCC and other branches of the DOC.
Yeah, like just explain to us what that means.
Yeah, so other divisions, like one other investigator was a corrections field supervisor previously through the Division of Community Corrections. which is essentially the same rank technically and pay scale as a captain, but just different.
Okay. So nobody, and we'll all be clear that Columbia's the big time, right?
It's a maximum security institution.
Right. Okay. And you guys effectively had no experience at maximum security institutions whatsoever on your team, and you guys were investigating a warden for their failures to honor escape. Is that right?
I'm going to object to relevance.
Okay.
Answer if you want, but I want one question at a time.
Yeah, I was a captain in an institution investigating a warden, correct.
All right. Now, you had, that was the basis that you went to Mr. Fuchs, and you knew that things were recorded. Is that right?
There were conversations that I had with Mr. Fuchs. One of them was, getting, like, for example, the control recording of all the radio chatter from the morning of the escape.
Okay. What other conversations did you have with Mr. Fuchs?
Like I said, one was, I remember talking to Mr. Fuchs about getting access to the email system.
Sure. Anything else?
Not that I recall specifically, no.
Okay. Did you discuss the investigation with Mr. Fuchs anytime?
I do not. I don't know. I don't recall. I wouldn't have had a reason to, but I don't recall any conversations with Mr. Fuchs about the investigation.
Okay. And just so we're clear, when you were there, where were you physically located? Where was your office physically located?
We were in the, I believe it was like the administrative conference room.
Okay. And where was Mr. Fuchs physically located?
He was in the same room.
The same room?
Correct.
The entire 2 weeks that you were working there?
Give or take, yes. I don't recall. There were some days he was there. There were some days he was not. But yeah,
And you don't recall whether or not you discussed the investigation with him at all?
My investigation? No, I don't recall that. No.
Okay, thanks. Now, there's some, the fence, I think this is called an incident report for the fence. Is that right?
I don't recall if there was an incident report for the fence.
Sorry, this is more of a qualitative question here, or a categorical question, excuse me. I'm just asking you, is there such a report as an incident report for a fence? Is that something that would exist?
Like if there was like something wrong with the fence, I believe that there should be an incident report for the fence, yes.
Okay, did you pull any incident reports for the fence at Columbia at any time?
I would have looked, and I believe I would have tried. I don't recall. If I would have looked, if there was some, I would imagine that I would have included it in my investigation.
Okay. Now,